Although I make a lot of New Year's resolutions each January, most of them don't make it past the second week. But one of the resolutions I will keep this year is to clean up and organize one of the messiest spots in my house, my desk. I use the internet all the time, and one of the things they say is that we should have different usernames and passwords for each website that we visit to keep our information safe and secure. Well, for many of us, that means a desk full of Post-it notes stuck all over the computer monitor with all of that information looking like a huge disorganized mess. So the first project for the new year on Stamp TV is a special little book to keep all of your usernames and passwords organized and safe. Let me show you the tools and products you're going to need for this project. First, I went to Staples and I found this little package of notebooks. There are 5 notebooks in the pack, and they're just a couple of dollars, and they are perfect for this little project. Then you're going to need some rubber stamps, and of course I'm using rubber stamps from the brand new Stamp TV kit, Organize It. You're also going to need some tape. You're going to need a Stamp-A-Majig stamp positioning tool. You're going to need a Quickie glue pen. Here I have a couple of patterned papers from the Basic Gray Origins collection. It's just a beautiful patterned paper pack, and it matches so well with all the cardstocks and embellishments in the new Organize It kit. Here is one of the ribbons from the new kit, and this is the Fresh Asparagus double-stitched ribbon. You're going to need some white cardstock. You're going to need a couple Nestabilities dies, and then some ink pads, and I'm using Memento Black, and I'm also using Vivid in the olive color. And then I also have a pair of Cutter Bee scissors and some score tape. This is the 1/4-inch score tape. All right, so to begin, I'm going to choose one of the books that matches my pattern paper the best. Now, the green would look really nice, and so would the yellow, but I am going to stick with the black for this one. Let me move a few of these tools out of the way. All right, so I've taken a couple of pieces of patterned paper from the Origins paper pack, and I've cut 2 sheets of it that measure 2 5/8 inches by 5 inches long. Now, of course, you can adjust these measurements to fit any type of little notebook you want to use, but if you are going to go out and buy these little notebooks from Staples, that's the measurement for the front and for the back cover. And then I'm going to take those 2 pieces of paper, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue glider on them, and I'm going to affix those to the front and the back cover of my little notebook. And what you may want to do is you may want to just open up the cover in order to position that just perfectly. Okay, so there's the front, and now I'm going to do the back. And the same thing on the back. And remember, if your pattern paper has an orientation, make sure you've got it positioned the right way. Same thing here. Okay, and we have our back cover on. Okay. Now the next step is I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock, and I'm using the Gina K Designs Pure Luxury. You can also use a piece of the ivory cardstock that came in your kit. It will look just as pretty. And I'm going to stamp the large oval image from the Organize It kit using black ink. Okay, so there's my oval. Now I'm going to do that one more time, and I'm going to do it on a piece of coordinating patterned paper, because I'm going to do a little bit of paper piecing work, which you'll see in just a minute. Okay. So now I've stamped the image also onto the pattern paper. Now, I'm going to cut out these little sections on the pattern paper because I want to paper piece those in and highlight those parts on the oval. So let me show you how I do that. Just going to cut along that black line. Might be a little bit difficult to see that on the screen, but when you actually see it in person, it's pretty vibrant. You can see exactly where the cutting line would be. Just trim that little excess off there. Okay. And you can see how pretty that is when you pop that right into that spot. Doesn't that look nice? And then we're going to put our little bit of a phrase right in there. Okay, so after you've cut both of those out, you can just put those aside. We'll pretend that I cut the other one out. And the next step is we're going to stamp usernames and passwords right into this oval. Now, I don't care if I'm using clear stamps, rubber stamps that are wood-mounted, or unmounted rubber stamps. I always like to use a Stamp-A-Majig because I just feel like I can get just perfect placement that way. So you'll get a quick refresher on how to use the Stamp-A-Majig tool. Going to take your imaging sheet and put your stamp onto a block. And when you're doing this, make sure you have a square block. The round blocks are really nice and comfortable, but for using the Stamp-A-Majig, you do need a block that has a right angle. And then you're going to place your tool right in the top corner of your imaging sheet and ink up your stamp. And then you're going to place that block into that corner of your tool and stamp straight down. So now we know where this image is going to stamp when we position it. So I'm going to put usernames right up here in this corner. Put my stamp positioning tool in, and then I'm going to stamp usernames straight down. There. Now once that's done, I'm going to replace that stamp with the word password, like that. And then I'm going to use a different corner of my Stamp-A-Majig imaging sheet, and I'm going to stamp the word passwords. Now I'm going to place that word down here in this lower corner. Replace my tool, remove the imaging sheet, and ink up my stamp again, and stamp. Now I have usernames and passwords perfectly stamped. Now I want to add the and. There are a couple different ands that you can use. There's a large one and there's a small one. I'm going to use the small one for this project. And again, I am going to use my Stamp-A-Majig for this because I want it to be just perfect. See, what happens to me is, even when I'm using clear stamps, as I ink up my stamp, I get ink all around the outside of the image too, so that even if it's a clear stamp, it's still blocked by all that ink, so it's still not as precise as using your stamp positioner. And now I'm going to add a nice olive green right there. And I'm going to stamp that straight down. So now I have the words that say usernames and passwords. And this is going to be my focal image for my little book.